Thank you for tuning in to the Radicards podcast on radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno, and today we're going to be talking about, we're going to introduce with Mike Trout signing a new deal worth $430 million. It's kind of a lot. At a certain point, Ryan, it doesn't matter how much money after a certain, may as well be a billion, a trillion, the figures are just going to keep rising and rising to the point where okay, fine. It's still a number I can't conceptualize. I don't know what $430 million looks like, So, fine. But does he stay with Anaheim? Or does he go to a team that has potential for actually winning playoffs? This is the question.
He's staying. He's got a no opt-out contract, no trade. So he's there for the next 12 years. And he'll be there until he's 39. And it's been done before. Guys finish big contracts and they're older and they sign 1-2 year deals here and there. But Trout kind of strikes me as the kind of guy that would just sort of say I'm done. Unless he really still feels great and wants to play. But I think he's not going to be the kind of person that puts a burden on a team when he can't perform to the level that he's used to. And the 430 figure is huge, obviously, but I think what's been sort of not misreported, but maybe not made obvious in the reporting is that what he's agreed to is an extension upon his current contract. So over the next 2 years, he's owed about $33 million a year, so $66 million. And so then the new extension kicks in after that. So what he agreed to, whatever 430 minus 66 is, that's the contract. And cumulatively it adds up to 430 and it adds up to 12 years. But, he really signed up for 10 years, at 360 million. So like I said, it adds up to 430, which is a huge number. That's the figure that's been reported. But I think a lot of people don't realize that he was already signed up for the next 2 years. So it's kind of nuanced. It's complicated, but instead of going into the free agent market in 2 years, he just decided to take the deal and sort of become an angel for life.
Okay, so it's well known, it's documented his skill level, right? That's not something we really need to discuss on the podcast here.
Yeah. Undisputed.
He's undisputed, right?
Great champ. Absolutely.
He's amazing. So, look, Angels need star players. They need star talent just like any other team. So I'm happy for the Angels. I just would like to see the Angels get to a place where they can actually win some big games at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
That's what I would like, because I spent some of my favorite years in LA were in the North Orange County area of the Fullerton and Anaheim, and that was some of my favorite time. And so I became an Angels fan just sort of by association. I've always been a fan of the Angels, and so I've always just wanted them to be really talented in their selection of players. So I was really excited that they got Ohtani. I was excited when they got Pujols. I was excited when they got Hamilton. I'm excited that they have Trout. I just want to see them have awesome players that maintain a skill level that combined can make them a very dominant team. And so I'm super happy for Trout. I was just joking with you, Ryan, that if I were Trout, I'd be going to maybe I'd join Harper in Philadelphia and see if I can win some World Series with the Phillies with Harper, because I have him on my team now. That's kind of how I would be thinking of I'm spending the best years of my prime time, my life at this company, so to speak, that's not bringing any return back to me. And we talked about this off the recording earlier today, that who does Trout have built around him? Yeah, we've got Ohtani, but you can't win you can't win World Series with just two players. You got to have there's got to be a cohesion of talent built around. And the Angels have talented guys. They picked up Matt Harvey. He's a great pitcher. He
Well,
was.
that's not a great example, but
You're gonna have to help me here. But what if
yes,
they've got a lot of like developing talent too. That's kind of built
yes,
in to the roster. But you're gonna have to kind of contribute to this because you're gonna probably know more about the dynamics of the player roster built around the 2019 Angels than I do because you live in the area and you follow them much more than I do.
yeah. So the future for the Angels was very bleak a couple years ago. The farm system was in the tank. It was ranked like 30th or 29th by a lot of experts, and now it's like in the top 10. And
Okay.
there's some serious prospects, which is great now with the Trout extension because those two timetables are going to overlap. You're going to have the prime of Trout's career overlap with these new guys coming up.
All right.
Joe Adell, Matt Thays, these guys are potential game changers. Obviously, they're prospects. They could be busts. You know how it goes.
Yeah, of course.
Um, but at this point in 2019, all you have to do is look at what you have in the farm, and what we have is a lot of optimism. So we had the Josh Hamilton contract basically decimate the payroll for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
He contributed nothing when he was sober, and then when he slipped up, unfortunately, he was cut, and that was basically just a dead weight of a contract. It was just a sunk cost. Couldn't do anything with it, and he got paid seriously for that. So obviously, the Pujols contract has been a point of contention. That's a debate that could go back and forth. That's probably a topic on it in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But Trout's also playing with the best defensive shortstop in Andrelton Simmons, who's also got an above-average bat, who, by the way, was quoted today after the Trout extension saying, because he's up for a new contract, I think, next year, he said he'd also like to be an Angel for life. And he's sort of buying into it,
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we've got Ohtani, who Rookie of the Year, won't be pitching this year, but he'll be hitting.
Right.
And he's a potential revolutionary player with his two-way style.
Yeah.
So, Justin Upton, exceptional left fielder, power bat. And there's a couple role player guys that probably won't do much, but I think those couple of guys I just mentioned, they make me optimistic.
Sure.
And I think they should make any Angels fan optimistic. And if you notice, I didn't name any pitchers. We've got some serious pitching issues to address, and you know what? Next year, 2020 off season, if they don't get any pitching, I might change my tune a little bit. But
we've had, and then we talked off record about Angels losing Jared Weaver some years ago, and he was a good pitcher, solid utility for a long time.
He was the Angels' last, quote unquote ace, like the one guy that you could throw out there, and you knew he was going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really been a black hole on the mound for the Angels, just due to large part because of injuries, and then
Right.
also because financial constraints due to Pujols and Hamilton, who you just couldn't go out there and sign the big free agent. You couldn't go sign Patrick Corbin or Zach Greinke.
Right.
And the farm system just wasn't producing the major league ready talent, unfortunately. But like I said before, that could change in the next couple of years. We could have some young guys come up and really be dominant. So,
Right.
it's a nuanced situation. It's going to be interesting, and I'm just trying to not focus on the future. I'm just trying to live in the moment. And I was walking on air today once I read about Mike Trout's deal.
Oh,
And-
sure. I mean, it's cool. I like it. I like the fact that he's a lifetime Angel, essentially. Because we'll always know him as the Angels' hottest player, hottest hitter.
Mm-hmm.
The richest 20-something. And so I'm happy for him. I think it's great. And I as somebody who appreciates his talent, and I love seeing his cards sell in the hobby. It's so fun to watch the stuff that gets, rolls through the market and just watching kind of the auctions and the end
Yes.
prices, and just it's fun. I have a good time watching that stuff. I don't buy any of it, but I think it's cool to watch.
I think my eBay watch list right now is about 30% Mike Trout. Just because the end prices fascinate me.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a player that's caused so much financial draw just based off of essentially base cards, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean his obviously US 175
2012.
is the big one that everybody goes after because it's the most affordable and realistic one for most people. Most of us can't afford the 09 Bowman Chrome card.
But what's affordable for the US 175 right now? I mean,
and raw or graded?
let's say raw.
What is it, like $400? I think is.
Yeah.
Let me look what the it's. I mean, it's look that to me is affordable.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just can't think of another modern player that's drawn that kind of attention to his base card.
Right.
Like Ohtani didn't do that, and obviously he still has a lot left to prove. But
right.
Yeah, the Trout cards are just incredible.
They are incredible. I mean, it's incredible to see a base card, no parallel, just a standard base card selling for hundreds, and
Love it.
like of any player. So that's why like when I watch this card, I'm like, gosh, I'm so intrigued by this card. And this card gets so much action, but his 2011 Topps Pro debut card doesn't get nearly the action. The action. I mean, you could pick those up for bargains in comparison to these prices.
Yeah.
And you can get parallels for still, quote unquote bargains as well. And so when I look at US 175, I think, gosh, that card has sort of changed the way I look at base cards in a lot of ways because people are going after PSA 10s of that card, a base card, for north of $700.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like it's incredible. I mean, it really is incredible to watch this stuff. And so, and there's no shortage of them. That's the other thing too. Is that like prices continue to rise, knowing there's no shortage of this card. They printed the heck out of this card. You know, it's not serial numbered.
Although the Trout phenom extends into 2013. There are some serious prices being asked for 2013 Mike Trout cards. One of the ones that's on my list is the 2013 Heritage, which has a couple different parallels. I think there's like an SP, and Heritage is, to some people, considered like the end-all be-all for Topps products, I think.
It's really heavily collected product.
Heavily collected. It's very popular. I love it. It's probably like, if I were to go buy a hobby box today, that would probably be the first thing I would look at.
Yeah.
But it's just like 2013, like I said, it's not a rookie year. That year specifically has no significance, but it's Mike Trout. It's just that's how insane the hobby is over him right now, and that's why my watch list is full of it.
So the 2013 Topps Heritage, there's an in-action variation.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that's
like sliding or something.
No, he's swinging through. He's at the end of a swing. But it's a great it's a great looking card. I mean, it's awesome. It's a great shot of Mike Trout. I prefer the in-action shot. Granted, the base card without the hat on, him just like tilting his head, smiling, is also a good card to have too. I mean, they're good poses. But if you want the rarer version, the in-action card is going to be the one to get. And they sell for $550 and up. I mean, they're expensive. They're rare. I mean, here's a PSA 10 that sold for $650. Buy it now. I mean, that's strong.
Yeah, and the Heritage always have those crazy retail parallels. I think there's like a Walmart blue,
yeah,
or like a Target red or something like that, which is another level of pricing. But
there's a Walmart blue version there. I'm looking at a black one here as well online. And then there's this like color swap thing as well. I mean, SPs. That's the beauty of this Heritage product. They give you all these varieties, and it's going back to like classic rarities of cards. I mean, it's artificial demand in a way because it's produced that way on purpose. But I like it. I think it's done tastefully. There are parallels to be had. There are not too many of them. Which I like. I think it's cool. I mean, Heritage I think Topps does a good job with this product.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's I mean, this year Heritage is really intriguing. It's one of my favorite designs, the 1970 tops.
totally.
And they just look so clean. It's a total throwback, obviously. That's the point.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, this stuff is a ton of fun. And I've met a few like master collectors, and I'm sure it drives them insane. All the SPs and
Right.
SSPs, like, but I'm sure it's fun at the same time. I mean, I can't imagine the sense of accomplishment putting together a master set of Topps Heritage. It's a
Oh my
lot.
gosh, yeah, totally. Tons of work. Master set with all the different parallels. That would just take a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
A lot of time and money. Speaking of the Angels, though, Ryan, you want to jump on this next piece about the jersey?
Sure, yeah. So recently a Anaheim Angels jersey sold on eBay for $300, just north of $300. And that's a pretty high mark for, a modern jersey that had been printed zillions and zillions of times, sold in the ballpark, probably for like $100 at the time. But what's special about this jersey is it says Anaheim on the front. It doesn't say Angels. It says Anaheim. And this was a jersey they only wore from 2002 to about 2006, 2007. And they've gone through a lot of variations in their jersey over the year. And the Anaheim version has become highly sought after. I think, obviously, because it says Anaheim. It's the only one that does that. And after this jersey is when the owner changed the name infamously to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which was met with huge backlash from people that lived in LA, people that lived in Orange County, people that lived across the country were just like flabbergasted. And they've had Angels on their jersey ever since. I don't really see them ever changing that. So these Anaheim jerseys have become very intriguing to folks that are from the area or just, diehard Angels fans that may not be from the area because they only wore it for a couple years. They won the World Series in 2002 with Anaheim on their chest. It's got some pretty historical significance. And it's just crazy to me to see a somewhat small market team, modern jerseys selling for $300. And there was one that sold maybe about a month ago that sold for about $350. So people are hawking these items, man. They're paying attention. It's on my eBay save search list. They don't pop up too often. It just happened to be that two popped up in the span of like a couple months, which is kind of rare.
Yeah.
And I never would have guessed they would have reached the $300 mark. I would have guessed maybe like $225 or something like that. But so now that I've seen these two auctions, now I'm really intrigued by these items, and I'll keep you updated if I see any more.
Are you going to try to get one into your collection?
I would love one. I think $300 is a little
steep.
And I'd also like to wear a jersey if I ever bought one. I couldn't really justify wearing a $300 jersey.
Kind of reminds me of like a story when I was in high school. My buddy and I, we went to a concert together. We went to see the Ataris. It's a pop punk band from the like late 90s. They're pretty good. But he bought a shirt at the show, and then he had the band sign the shirt. And then like a couple weeks later, we went skateboarding together, and he was wearing that shirt, skateboarding. And I was like, dude, what do you do? You're wearing the shirt. You bought the show. It's brand new. It's signed by the band. That's frame that thing. Don't wear it. What's the matter with you? And then fast forward, I went to like, there was a skateboarding professional that was coming in. Jamie Thomas, I think, he was one of my favorite skateboarders growing up. He still is one of my favorites. But he was doing a signing, and one skater got aboard and had him sign his skateboard for him. And then I see him that day skating his board. Like, dude, it's signed by a pro. You should like retire it and hang it up. What are you doing skating this thing? What's the point of this? So yeah, I can understand that you're gonna spend a lot of money, drop some dough on a nice jersey. But you want to wear the jersey. Something like this, I would just have to archive it.
Yeah, it would be framed. It would be stored.
You'd store it somehow to enjoy it. But then you'd find like maybe a replica jersey like it for cheap and wear that one.
Well, that's the curious thing about this specific jersey that says Anaheim. because you can buy replica jerseys of pretty much any jersey throughout history of any sport, I would venture to say, right? Like
Right.
if you wanted a Pittsburgh Steelers throwback jersey from the
It's
70s,
available.
you could buy a replica jersey for like $75.
Right.
These jerseys are not replicated. They are not made in any way. So it's only the authentic Rawlings jersey that were sold during that time. And trust me, I've looked for replicas. I would happily buy a replica.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, if you were to buy a jersey to wear, would it have to be this one, or could you just get
no,
an Angels jersey and be done with it?
I guess I'd be okay with it. I'm not really a jersey guy. I'm not like a big memorabilia guy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it would be framed. It would be stored, and it'd be a really significant piece personally.
Yeah.
And it's obviously significant for other people. I mean, this specific auction that we're talking about had 19 bids. It's a lot of action.
There's a lot of action.
Had a really strong sale point, and and it's the gray version. So this is like the away version.
Right.
The games they had played on the road.
Yeah.
So if it was like the white home jersey, I don't know. It could go, 350, 400.
You think that did the home jerseys bring more money than the away jerseys?
I think so.
Yeah.
There's a little more aesthetic appeal. That's just a guess. But
Yeah.
they have to pop up for me to validate that, and they just don't pop up. They're like little unicorns on eBay.
Yeah.
And the fact that two of them popped up in 2019 so close to each other was pretty crazy, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. And I don't think a lot of people know too much about these jerseys. So if you're in the Southern California area and your uncle has a jersey that says Anaheim on it, keep an eye on it.
Sneak in when he's not home, and then
Yeah, steal it.
No, it's something you brought to my attention because, I'm a card guy. Like, I've been in the card hobby for many, many, many years, and so I never really got into the clothing piece. Like jerseys and pants and the cleats and helmets, and I never got into that. Mainly because of space, but generally just my interest just isn't there. I like to learn about them, but I just don't like to acquire them. That's the thing, is that I'm stoked on learning about the knowledge around why something is rare when it comes to this quote unquote classic memorabilia stuff. But as far as acquiring it, I'd rather just somebody else buy it. I think it's cool that other people have interest in this kind of thing, because then I get to learn something new about, say, like something like the Anaheim jersey. I didn't know until you brought it to my attention about a week ago. So I'm glad that we get to talk about this because it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on, we got Michael Jordan and Hanes celebrate their 30th year in partnership in 2019. And as such, they bring us a set of trading cards featuring Michael Jordan. And you get packs of them in packs of boxer briefs and packs of T-shirts and things from Hanes, sold at big box retail stores like Target and Walmart. And so the cards come in, like, there's a base run, and then there is a red foil parallels, and then there's a little bit rarer blue foil parallels, and then there's the all-star subset cards, and there's all-star subset cards with gold parallels. So there's a bunch of different things you can get. And also, Jordan signed 10 cards in this run of packs. I guess they
Just
produced
10?
just 10 cards.
Gosh.
They printed over 800,000 packs were made to be put in Hanes underwear found at retail chains. So over 800,000 packs, and in 10 of those packs exist the 10 autographed cards. So I haven't seen one yet, autographed ones, but I've seen that there's a red pack and there's a blue pack, and each of them prompt the buyers to get the other color packs to complete the set. And so you have to kind of go out and get them. And they've been purchased a lot, and they've been selling pretty well on eBay. So the pictures of Jordan depict him wearing the Hanes clothing. A lot of them, I think, if not all of them, are the feature images of him in the commercials that he has been in to promote Hanes over the years. So it's a neat little set. It's cool. I like it. It's a classic they brought back the 1988 Fleer basketball design to promote this set, which was fitting because that was, that set came out 30 years ago. Because this is 2018, 2019, and the 88-89 Fleer set is the design that they used to lay out this set, which is very fitting, I thought, because it's 30 years ago. So that was cool. And so I blogged about this. If you want to go onto Radicards.com, you can look at some scans that I've just kind of grabbed off the internet, and I've talked about the set a little bit after I've done some research. So if you want to have a look, it's there. These are really cool. I won't be buying any of this stuff myself. I'm just going to be watching these things and seeing if there's an autograph that is going to eventually surface. And I can't imagine, if you think about it, autographs, one of them, you'd have to buy so many packs to pull one of these things, man. The autographs are going to, if one surfaces, it's going to do really well at auction. That we know. And all these images on these cards are just great images of Michael Jordan. So, if you're a Michael Jordan collector and you want to grab some of these, grab them while you can, because, but they're going to be shuffled around the hobby, I think, into perpetuity, because 800,000 packs is there's enough variety there to just kind of go around in the hobby throughout, and, for probably into perpetuity, you'll be able to get these on eBay. So these are cool. I just want to talk about that because it's just one of those things where you have a brand celebrating a partnership, one of the longest running of its kind, really 30 years. It's really impressive.
Do you think Michael Jordan's autograph is the most desired of all current living sports stars?
I think without thinking about it more, I want to say yes. It's at least the most valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting question because some people equate rarity to desirability. Michael Jordan's autograph is not rare. He signs
out there. He signs
a lot. But it's consistently valuable and desired. He could sign hundreds of thousands and more and his stuff will still sell extremely well. It's kind of like the pop report for the 86 Fleer of Michael Jordan at the 10s. The populations continue to rise for that card. But the sellability of that card still continues to rise. The value still continues to rise in that card, no matter the population. That's one of those things where population of something doesn't impact value of something. These are very rare occurrences in economics. Usually you have, the more of something you have, the less value each individual thing is worth. It doesn't exist like that with Jordan stuff. It's really weird how this kind of works because its value isn't impacted by how many of them exist. And with autographs for Jordan, I honestly think that his autographs will continue to rise over time, no matter that there's hundreds of thousands of them in the market. I mean, it's amazing. It really is amazing. It's a very unique situation that I just don't see too frequently. I mean, I see typically a guy gets signed on to sign cards, and then his cards were once worth a lot of money signed because they're hard to find. Now they're available, and you can get them instead of $400, you pay $30 for them now because there's so many out in the market. It doesn't happen with Jordan. Jordan stuff, autographed, sells so well, no matter. It's just really incredible. So I'd have to say, without doing some kind of research on this, yes, I want to say of living people, his is the most sellable, most valuable autograph.
Yeah, the Jordan autographs and the Mike Trout cards are the anomalies.
Yeah, and these are, I mean, you don't have to quote me on this stuff. Just my opinion is that Jordan autographs are the most valuable in the market today, but of a living person. And I don't need to be quoted on that. People can just make their observations and formulate their own opinions as they go. I just can't think of another person who's still alive whose autograph brings consistently huge numbers every single time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Jordan, I mean, Jeter is kind of getting there, and that's kind of something we're going to touch on here next. Is that last year Topps produced a set called Diamond Icons, and in it, I saw this listing on eBay. It's Derek Jeter's cleats were put into a card. His cleats were put in his. So you think This card, if you look at this auction, Ryan, you could see the thickness of this. What is that, like 450 point? I mean, it's a
It's
brick.
ridiculous.
It's a brick. And so I'm thinking, like, this poses the question to me, like, at what point does a card cease to become a card and is more of a piece of memorabilia?
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
This is something you put on your mantle. You put this next to a statue or like a rare something else that's memorabilia. It falls into that, like a bust or something. This to me wouldn't be so much like a sports card in that way because it's like the card itself, the real estate of the card is it's dominated by the cleat. So the cleat itself is a piece of sports memorabilia, and it's just in a frame that happens to be the same dimension as a sports card.
yeah, it's a monstrosity of a card. It's huge. I wouldn't even know what to do with it, and
Sold for just over $1,000, $1,051. I mean, it's pretty big time, I think.
those are those Jeter Yankee collectors. I'm kind of surprised I've never seen this before. I've seen pieces of a cleat, going way back, but not the actual spikes in like the bottom of the cleat protruding into the card.
Right.
This is kind of insane.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if so. My buddy Dan, who he and I do videos together, he shared a link to an auction or a picture on Twitter, and it was a Eric Lindros game used card, and it was from Leaf, and it was like like the front of a shoe has the laces all laced up with like the laces flipping over the front, the extra piece that tied together. It was like that. That card had that. Like it features a whole lace area with the laces flopping over the front of the card and hanging down. I'm like, God, what is like? At what point, like, does that deter buyers? I mean, I personally wouldn't buy it myself. I'd want to turn it around because that's not really my thing. But obviously they're going to be collectors. Lindros was a great player, so it's like you're going to have buyers. But if I pulled that out of a card, I don't know how to feel about it. I'd be like, would I be disappointed to get basically a pile of laces into a card? I'm trying to think like at what point does it become? Yeah, I mean it's at what point does it become more like you're focusing on what you're putting in the card and less about the card itself?
exactly.
Anyway, I just want to touch on that because finding cleats in a card is it's fascinating. Like, what's next? So this is cool. Just want to touch on that. Let's move on here. Now, Ron, you might remember some podcasts ago we talked about 1997 Metal Universe Precious Metal Gems Jordan, the Emerald card.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Of course.
So, and it sold for like $350K. I mean, it was like a huge listing, right? This big thing. We got the red one has made another appearance online. I've seen a red one in the past, and I saw this card sell for $19,000 in the past. One of the 90. Okay, now this one now is already over $60,000, and it still has about a day to go. And so, yeah, it's over $63,000 now. It still has a little over a day to go, and it's I asked it's a PSA 6.5. And I asked myself, I'm like, does this thing have enough teeth to cusp or exceed, rather, the $100,000 mark, even though it's numbered to 90?
I don't know. So refresh my memory. PMG green or emerald.
Sure.
Those were the first 10.
Yes, of the print run of 100. So the emeralds still have to 100 serial numbering, but it's all of them will be either serial numbered 001 to 010. And then after that, 011 to 100 out of 100 are all the red ones.
They're all red. Okay. Yeah. We'll also, what did we say, 350 for the green or for the emerald?
Yeah, it closed at over 350.
Man, 6.5.
It's kind of a big deal, Does the red in a condition of a 6.5 have the potential in the current market to break the six-figure mark?
Oof, I don't know. I wonder what the pop report on these bad boys are, because the condition sensitivity on these.
Oh, it's rough.
They're
is.
really rough.
Yeah, it's just rough. And people have a problem with that, generally speaking, because they're like, oh, but look at the condition. I was like, yeah, but look how rare it is. Sometimes rarity outweighs any concern for condition flaws. Yeah, that's how I am. Like Mirror Gold has a print defect. Like, who cares? If I can get it for 2K, awesome. That's how I feel. But some fellas, they're just like, oh, I wouldn't buy it because look at those edges. They're rough. I'm like, dude, but it's the card. It's just how they are. It's just how they are, man. Like, it's okay. It's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just doesn't have to be perfect, man.
Well, we opened that box of was it 99 Metal Universe?
Yeah.
And I remember those cards were just like, it was almost impossible to keep those edges from getting scuffed up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of it, and you have to just be okay. It's like 71 tops. They're condition sensitive. This is what the PMGs, you have to just let that go and be okay with the fact that these are just by design produced to be a little rough around the edges.
Yep.
So going to the pop report of this, the red one, there's 17 that have been graded. And for the emeralds, only 2 have been graded, and both have just been graded authentic. I mean, I've seen them both. I saw the first one in person at the 2015 National, and I saw the PWCC auction, which had the other one. Really fascinating stuff. I mean, it's just really, really cool. So I like these cards. I think they're great, and I think these are the kinds of cards that we're going to see a steady incline over the course of time, increase in value over the course of time. And be careful if you're in the market for one of these. Just do your homework. You can overpay very easily for these cards, no matter the player, if you're not careful. So if you're in the market for a PMG of any player from the basketball market, the 97 stuff, wait for an auction style listing. Just do your homework. No sense in overpaying for anything if you can avoid it. That's always what I say. Just try to avoid overpaying as often as you can. Every now and then.
If you're not in the market for a PMG, what's wrong with you? Because they're super cool.
Well, we don't have the money, right? It's like,
well, okay, for PMG, maybe not these crazy basketball PMGs, but look at the baseball PMGs.
Yeah, they're affordable.
They're affordable. Yeah. Surely you have a favorite player from the late 90s, early 2000s that you can pick up a PMG from. Definitely one of my top favorite sort of parallel insert kind of sets.
Yeah.
Really cool. So.
Yeah, really cool. We talked about this before. Is that it's kind of a lost opportunity that these were never produced in the baseball market. The 97 stuff. PMGs started in 98 for baseball. 98. Fine with me. They're great looking cards. So anyway, I want to touch on that because this is an auction that ends tomorrow, and I'm just kind of like playing around. I'm just watching it because it's fun to watch. So. Cool stuff. Ryan, you want to talk about this number 6 piece? I know I brought this to your attention today, and I'm gonna kind of, I can introduce it, or you can just talk about the Milton Bradley stuff.
I'll take it. I mean, I got schooled by Patrick this morning. I was certainly aware of the 68 Nolan Ryan, Jared Kuzman rookie card in the Milton Bradley variation, but I had no idea it came in this format, and you'll see the link in the blog post to exactly what I'm talking about, but it's this like trading card board game type thing. I always thought that it was a card that maybe you bought at like a Toys R Us kind of store. I thought it was like a retail kind of release. I didn't really give much thought to the significance of it. I had no idea it was part of this full game. So if you get a chance, check out the listing. It's a super cool throwback to the late 60s and what was going on back then in America. This is probably like the coolest thing you could get as a kid back then. And if you look at the Milton Bradley listings just for the Ryan RC, what are we talking? $300 to $600, somewhere in that.
Yeah, they're nowhere near as expensive as the Venezuelan parallel, but they're certainly more desired than the base Topps card, just because they're of a limited quantity in comparison to just the standard Topps card.
And they're, like we spoke about before earlier today, they're kind of hard to identify.
Yeah.
You pointed out the white stripe, kind of white edge.
Yeah.
On the card that you have to be aware of, because otherwise you look at the back of the card, it says TCG Topps Company. It's like
Uh-huh.
any other 68 card you'd see.
Yeah.
Um, so you really have to pay close attention to detail on this card, whereas the Venezuelan release is very obvious in color
Right.
and condition. Same with O-Pee-Chee. O-Pee-Chee is very different in color, and then it says O-Pee-Chee on the back.
Yep.
So, like, duh, there it is. Um, but this listing is very intriguing because not only do you get the Ryan, which has been graded and authenticated, which is very nice, but you get the whole board game, which I wouldn't know what to do with. I would just store it as best as I could.
Archive that
But
thing.
and then you get all the cards that came with it, which there's some heavy hitters in this set. There's some football players. There's some like cards, for lack of a better word.
Right, the hot rod cards. Yeah.
Hot rod cards. Okay, there you go. That sounds better than card cards. But there's like a Rod Carew, Brooks Robinson, Bob Gibson. There's some cool stuff in here.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think very reasonable price for what you get.
Mm-hmm.
It's Nolan Ryan, that rookie card's like one of the most iconic rookie cards, if not baseball cards of all time. And I don't think a whole lot of people know the entire story behind the Milton Bradley thing. And I think it's because these sort of listings just aren't listed very often.
Right.
I've never seen this before, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, the most expensive Jerry Koosman card out there.
Yeah. Jerry Koosman, the legend.
So interesting. The Milton Bradley. Here's the thing. The distinguishing factor. If you're in the market for Milton Bradley, the Milton Bradleys can be distinguished between themselves and the base tops card, specifically the Nolan Ryan and others in the set. But we're talking right now specifically the Nolan Ryan. The Nolan Ryan obviously is a horizontal card. So if you look at it straight on, right side up horizontally, Milton Bradleys will have a white line going down either the left or the right edge of the card. That if you see that on the 68 tops Ryan, that's a Milton Bradley. The base tops don't have that white line. It won't feature that white line. Mm-hmm. And so the Milton Bradley, that's the distinguishing factor. That's how you can tell it's a Milton Bradley card. They're harder to find, obviously. Still affordable, I think, than if for the bang for the buck as they are presently. And Nolan Ryan stuff continues to steadily climb with time. And so the example shown in this auction features that white line on the left-hand side pretty predominantly. It's diamond cut. It's a pretty poor looking example of the card, but it's still graded out of 4 from BVG. So, whatever. I'm not talking about the card itself. It's just like distinguishing between the Milton Bradley and the base tops. Yeah, but this auction is really cool. I've not seen this auction ever before. I've never looked for this stuff before, though, so I don't know how rare these are. I'd feel at least, a little confident in assuming that these are exceedingly rare to find in full, complete form like this.
Yeah, and I know that toy collecting is a big industry,
right,
and there's a lot of enthusiasts out there. This is an interesting crossover into like the board game toy world, and then also with sports cards, because just from looking at the pictures, the box and all the packaging and the actual board that you play the game on looks to be in, I'd say, like fair to good condition.
Yeah,
which is impressive for something that kids were playing with a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I don't really know if there's any value in the actual game itself, but how cool would that to be just to have like the entire thing, and you have the Ryan graded on top of that? Like that's really
it's certainly cherry on the top. I've only ever seen the Bradley Ryan as a standalone card. I've never seen it packaged quite this way, but the stuff I come across on eBay doing my day-to-day research is, I try to like incorporate dialogue online about like, hey, check this out, whatever. Well, this is one of those things where I'm like, well, I don't know how many people know that this kind of thing exists in the current market. Now, younger guys might not know about this, 30-somethings might, but they weren't born in the 60s, and so it's like they might not have seen this yet. And so this is the first time for me, and I'm pretty impressed by it. And like you were saying, the cards that are depicted in in the auction are of star players. So cool, man. It's just such a cool thing. Yeah, I mean, it's $1,800 is what they're asking for what it is. I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how frequently these surface. This might be a good deal. I like the language on the front of the box. Contains a generous supply of fabulous trading cards. So cool. I love it. So it's just fun.
You can use the cards in the box, or you can use cards from your personal collection.
Yeah.
So
I like that. It's fun.
Yeah. Total throwback.
Throwback. So cool. I'm a big fan of this kind of stuff. This is the kind of memorabilia that I dig because it's so obscure and rare. And so I just want to touch on that because it's something you just don't see every day, you know? So cool stuff. There you have it, Ryan. You have any final thoughts?
Man, I know last podcast I said I was desperate for baseball to start. Now that Trout has signed, the warm weather has finally hit Southern California.
Oh, yeah.
I need to be able to get home from work and flip on the TV and get some baseball in my life. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And gosh, we're almost there. Like by the next podcast in a week or two, we'll be there.
We'll be there. All right, cool, man. Thanks for jumping on this podcast with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for tuning in to the Radicards podcast on radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno. And until next time, enjoy collecting.
If you like this content, please subscribe. Thank you. Enjoy collecting.